All right, after incredible technical difficulties, I think we're finally good to roll. So I guess I'll say hello, friends, movie goers, cinephiles, Neanderthals, just down bad people in general. Whoever's listening to this, welcome. This is episode 0 of Mr. Movie Squad, a podcast where I'm just going to explain movies to you that I like so that you can, I don't know, learn something, become cultured, act like you know shit about movies or watch them at all. So yeah, I guess I should say a little bit about myself first. I don't really have any expertise or anything. I've never been to film school, certainly never made or written a movie or anything of that nature. But I do watch them all the time, and I don't know. I think I have at least something funny to say, if not anything enlightening or particularly enriching. So yeah, if you get nothing else out of this, at least you'll get to listen to me go back through a movie that maybe you've seen before and you're just too lazy to watch again, particularly this one since it's 3 hours long. And just, I don't know, get a little shortened version of a movie you like or whatever in purely audio form. And the movie I've selected for you today is one that I feel like was snubbed from the Oscars, probably the biggest Oscar snub, in my humble opinion. A film about romance, love, self actualization, adventure, comedy, everything. Just a great feel good movie. Something good to watch with your parents, particularly your mom, if you happen to have one of those. And if you don't know by now, I am of course talking about Ari Aster's Beau is Afraid.
Hi, Carrot. It's Mom. I'm just calling to say that I'm so excited to see you tomorrow. You're my angel, and I love you. Okay, I love you. Okay, bye, sweetie. I love you.
Are you at the airport?
I'm on my way. It's not safe, is it? What do you think I should do?
I'm sure you'll do the right thing, sweetheart.
Do you want the truth now?
So, Beau is Afraid is the third studio feature from writer director Mr. Ari Aster. And of course, his first two movies you'll probably remember were Hereditary and Midsommar, that came out back in the before times in 2018, 19. And both of which, of course, I really liked when I first saw them. Although I didn't get much of an appreciation for them until after I saw Beau is Afraid and went back then and watched both of those other two movies. But ironically enough, Beau is actually the one that flopped at the box office. Hereditary and Midsummer, particularly Hereditary, were both wildly successful, and I think they're great movies. But honestly, I now see the true value in both of them as having laid a sort of groundwork, if not artistically, at least financially, for this just beautiful little gremlin of a man to make one of the most incredible things I've ever seen in my entire life. And just the fact that it flopped at the box office is, it's kind of perfect, I guess. I feel like we're kind of coming out of the height of the Nazi regime a little bit, meaning the Marvel era. But it's just not one that was ever going to make any fucking money. Even if you set aside the kind of shitty marketing for this movie, especially compared to the really good marketing for his first two. But I don't know. This is almost like a little secret movie, that I have, and that a few other fortunate souls get to have. And so, I don't know. I guess if it's not going to be fucking well liked, then I'll be the one to ride or die for this movie. Um, as far as why I decided to talk about it today, I guess I should say that last year, meaning May of 2023, I had a wonderful experience. I actually went out to go see my buddy in San Diego, and we just got drunk and went to the movies. And we were both big fans of Hereditary and Midsummer, so we were like, of course, we're gonna go see Beau is Afraid. And I was just hooting and hollering the whole fucking movie. It's so fucking funny, dude. They had this big, beautiful theater in San Diego. We were the only ones in there, of course, because I guess everyone just hated this movie. It was just a great time. I wish I could go back pretty much every day. But that sparked, I don't know, maybe like a several month long, I don't know about obsession, but certainly like I'll make up a term, an enhanced fandom that I had for Mr. Ari Aster after this movie, and I went back and rewatched his other two as well as some of his shorts, and I realized that of course they're both masterpieces, Hereditary and Midsummer. Whereas when I initially saw Hereditary, which is a fucking story on its own, I think, maybe a little too high. And the thing about that movie is the scene where Peter's younger sister gets decapitated, largely due to his weed smoking and her nut allergy, really fucked me up because I guess a little lore about me is I was equally as high as Peter when I saw that movie the first time, and I also have a younger sibling with a peanut allergy, and I think my brain just kind of turned that movie off afterwards, and it made me like physically ill, and I couldn't fuck with it. And then I remember Midsummer when it came out. I saw it, and I guess I thought it was good, but it just kind of made me feel bad and like drained at the end, which I've come to realize is actually something that you should feel in a movie, which is something that Ari Aster and Mikhail Haneke have taught me, is that you shouldn't enjoy films that's for babies. They should make you feel like shit, and that one certainly did. But after seeing this most recent work from Ari, I definitely spent several months going back and watching all of his other movies and getting a better appreciation for them, as well as some of his short films, including Munchausen, which I love, and The Strange Thing About the Johnsons, which may need to be just. I don't know if I'll make an episode on it or not. I'll say if you like Ari Aster and you've seen literally everything else he's already made and you're curious about it, you can go back and watch Strange Thing About the Johnsons. If you're not into these kind of movies, then you just probably shouldn't watch it, and I guess I'll just leave it there. But one of his short films that I really liked, of course, is the short film Beau, which is a big inspiration, or that this movie kind of finishes, I guess. It's a little 8-minute movie about Beau, where it's, the same shit happens. Like, he's in his apartment, and then he runs back inside to get his floss, and his keys are gone, and then people, just, the world kind of just seems like it's inexplicably, like, fucking with him, and just doing horrible things to him, to the point that it's comedic. And then I guess this movie is just that concept turned into 3 hours for God knows fucking why, because this movie, while I would have sat there and watched it for honestly 4 or 5 hours, I have no idea why the fucking studio allowed him to do this fucking shit. And I half think that he should be in jail for it, but the other half of me thinks that it's amazing, and I'm glad that if this kind of movie isn't performing well at the box office, at least someone's fucking making it. Then the other thing that prompted, I guess, this episode is that I was listening to Movie Mindset, which is another great film podcast in addition to my own, and they were running through all their Oscar picks and stuff, talking about all the movies that had been nominated for Oscars. And then they just did a little 10, 15 minutes at the end where they talked about Beau is Afraid. And it was something that I didn't think that they would ever touch on that podcast. Or if they did, they would just hate it and think it's stupid. But they both loved it, especially Hessa. And I just was like, you know what? They're fucking right, dude. This is a great movie. I should go back and fucking talking about it. I've been wanting to for a while. So yeah, fuck it. Here I am. Friends, come with me on a journey, and let me take you to the most unhinged place that you could possibly imagine. Beau's world. One in which everything is always trying to kill you for no reason, especially your own mother, and everyone that lives around you. One in where there are magical, enchanted places, like spooky forests, your mom's house, and suburbia, probably the most dangerous place in Beau's world. Let me take you to the beginning of Beau is Afraid. The movie actually starts with an incredible scene where everything is black and you can hear like screaming and people running around and things slamming into each other and shit just in the background, almost as if we were hiding away from some sort of rampage that was going on outside, just listening to it from a cellar or something. And then it quickly becomes apparent that what's happening is we're getting a POV shot of a person being born, and all of the screaming taking place outside is the mother screaming, delivering the child, the doctors frantically running around and trying to do things, and like that, Beau enters the world, and they cut his umbilical cord. Of course, the mother is, Beau's mom is like freaking out at the doctor, and she's like, what did you do? What did you do to my baby? Because they cut his umbilical cord. And that's really the theme of this movie is that Beau kind of has some mommy issues, and he spends the rest of the film going on this odyssey to try and find her and hopefully resolve those issues. Which I'll say, yeah, the movie got a lot of flack when it came out for being a mommy issues movie, but I think Will Sloan put it really well when he said, some of you are just acting like you've never had a fucking mother before, which is valid. I think we all need to go on little odysseys and things to try and find our presumably dead mothers. From there, we're introduced into Beau's world, which is this kind of Synecdoche, New York style, just fucked up place in general, where again, like really just horrifying things are inexplicably happening, ranging from realistic things that may have happened to you before to completely impossible fantasy nonsense, as if God himself were just fucking with you just because. And we watch Beau as he walks through the neighborhood and comes back to his home, and he meets a cast of characters, like for example, a group of teenagers that are trying to get a guy to jump off of a building, a mother like screaming at her child and like telling him to stay with her. Which is the thing about this movie is it really is a mommy issues movie. They're just the mother is just present in like every single scene here. But then Beau walks back closer to his house and to the neighborhood he lives in, and he comes across this just parade of characters, like people just dancing mindlessly in the street, people selling drugs, prostituting. But then he walks closer into the neighborhood he lives in, and he runs into this like fully tattooed man, like bald, fully tatted man with his eyes like tattooed black and shit and his face tattooed. I actually I delivered to a guy like that the other day when I was door dashing. I mean, God bless him, but it was fucking wild. And this guy just chases Bo for no reason into his house, and Bo like sprints in there and like slams the door behind him, just in the nick of time, which seems like something that has been happening to him every day. And then on the fucking like walls and shit inside of his apartment complex, there's these crazy drawings of guys like ejaculating into their own mouth, and it says like, "Hail Satan, kill the Pope" and stuff. She's just almost painfully Ari Aster of this movie, but I mean, it's honest at least. You can't get mad at the guy. But he goes up into his apartment, and there's just wild shit on the news. Like there's apparently a naked guy that's been running around stabbing people, which the news identifies as a circumcised white male. Um, and then like his house is all fucked up, right? Like his water won't work, his lights are barely on. It's just kind of a shitty situation for Bo to live in. Like if you watch it, it's just to a comical degree. Like he has to fucking just run away from these like demon souls NPCs that live outside of his apartment every day, and they're like always trying to kill him and shit. And everything is just fucked. It's just like a little nightmare world that he lives in. And then one night, Bo is trying to get to sleep, and he can hear loud music coming from next door, and it's keeping him up. And then someone keeps sliding a note under his door asking him to turn his music down, even though he's not playing it. And then the music turns up like all the way, and then here comes another note, and it's like, oh, I asked you to fucking turn it down, but you play it louder. What the fuck? And so it's like he just can't he just can't catch a fucking break. Everyone's always just fucking shitting all over him. And so then in the morning, he wakes up to go to his flight. He's got a flight to go see his mom. And just like in the Bo short, he walks out of his door, leaves the keys in the door, and then sets all his stuff down, and then realizes he's forgotten something, which I don't remember if it was, because in the short it's his floss that he forgets, and I think it's the same thing in the movie, but I'm definitely not going to go back and check. But I'm pretty sure it is. But he forgets his floss, and he goes back to get it, and then he comes back, and his keys are gone, and all his shit's gone, and it's been stolen. So he's freaking out, and then he goes down the hallway to ask this fucking guy who's working there, and he's like, "Hey, my things just got stolen." And he's telling him what's going on, and the guy just looks at him, and he's like, "You're fucked, pal," which is the same thing that happens in the Bo short, where Ari makes a director's cameo and tells Bo that he's fucked now. That's so he starts freaking out, and he calls his mom, to let her know what happened, and he's going to cancel the flight, but he says, "Well, I'll still get there somehow. I'll still get there to see you." And so then he goes to take his pills after, and he reads on the bottle, it says, "Don't take these without water." And it's like a big red warning. And so he takes them, and then he goes and tries to get a cup of water, and his water is turned off. And so then he starts freaking out, and he fucking Google searches like what happens if you do that. And the first thing that pops up is like an obituary. And so then he just fucking panics. He realizes he has to go outside and run across to the store to go get water. And then there's just this incredible scene, like side scrolling, almost like a Super Mario level of him just like dodging and jumping over these fucking like NPCs that are all trying to kill him as he gets over to the store. Which also, I think there was something about Joaquin Phoenix, like who plays Bo, Joaquin Phoenix like rolling his ankle or something like on one of the first days of shooting because they keep having him run, and he's kind of an old guy, but he was a real trooper, man. He really fucking pushed through to give us this fucking movie. But yeah, he gets into the store and he is trying to pay for the water, but he doesn't have enough money, so his card's getting declined, so he's trying to scrape together some change. And he realizes that because he propped open the door to his apartment because he doesn't have his keys, so we needed to leave it open to get back in there. The NPCs have realized that this is the case, and they just start like the fucking like Walking Dead, like just this pack of zombies just start like funneling into his apartment as he's sitting there trying to pay for the water. And so he fucking realizes it, and he takes like the jar of pennies and just throws it at the cashier. He's like, "Here you go," and he fucking sprints back over to his apartment, and they've locked him out. And now all these maniacs are just inside of his fucking apartment, and they're breaking things. They're using his equipment, getting everything dirty, and just ruining everything, having the time of their life in Bo's house. And so he just walks over to a construction site that's working on the, I guess, sex club right next to his house, which is called Erectus Ejectus, by the way. And he just sleeps there for the night. And he's awakened by a guy in the morning. He's just working on there like normal, and he's like, "Oh, hey, buddy, how'd you sleep?" Like just nothing happened. And then he's able to walk back over to his apartment and get inside and just see the absolute carnage that's happened. Oh, and he gets his phone back because the tattooed guy is just laying there dead, holding his phone. So he gets that back, and he goes inside, and there's like, everything is fucked. The blender is just running, the water is going, which is nice, but it's now like flooding the house, and uh, so he goes to try and like, I don't know, collect his things or just do whatever he can, and then he tries to call his mother, which that's probably what I would do in this situation too. I don't know, I would just call my mom, and a strange man answers, and he's like, he's like, "Hey, dude, I don't know who this is or what's happening, but there's just a lady laying here, and her head has been crushed by a chandelier." And he's like, "Oh, well, I'm trying to call my mom," and he's like, "I think this is your mom, dude." And he's like, "Oh, she doesn't have a head? What do you mean?" And he's like, "Well, like part of her head's over here, part of it's over there. Sorry, dude." So he learns that his mom has just fucking died now because I guess her head was crushed by a chandelier. And so then he's like, "Well, I'm just gonna go take a bath," which again, that's probably what I would also do in that scenario. And so he gets in the bathtub, and he looks up, and there's just a fucking man like clinging to his ceiling, who must have been there for hours. And this the guy like falls on top of him, and they're wrestling around in the bathtub. And you get a couple great like just little short, like the way Ari shoots this is great. Like it just flashes like Joaquin Phoenix's enlarged testicles multiple times, like while they're fighting. And then he, gets out, and he runs out of his apartment to try to get away from the guy. And then he sees the circumcised white man killer, and that guy comes up and chases him and starts stabbing him. And so then he like runs away and goes to a cop, and the fucking cop is like, just instantly just pulls his fucking gun on him, and he's like, "Drop your fucking weapon, drop your weapon." And all he's holding is this like little figurine of a mother holding a baby that he bought at the beginning of the movie. And then as him and the cop are having the standoff, he just fucking gets hit by a car, and then that's what ends the first act. The first of four in this fucking 3 hour long dumbass movie. And then so he wakes up in like a teenage girl's bedroom with an ankle monitor on, and he discovers that Nathan Lane and Amy Ryan, the people who ran him over with their car, have taken him in, and they're nursing him back to health, and he's staying in their teenage daughter's room. And this is definitely my favorite fucking part of the movie. They have so like their son is dead because he was in the American invasion of Venezuela, and he died fighting in Caracas. And they have pictures of him everywhere, and they like, put out a fucking bowl of, they make dinner for him at dinner, and they have this like giant jigsaw puzzle that's just his face that they're putting together the whole time. And his insane like PTSD friend from the military is also staying with him. And Nathan Lane is like a doctor, and so he's just constantly giving this guy like tranquilizers and shit because he's just keeps like rampaging because he thinks he's back in Caracas. But definitely the best character in this act is their daughter, played by Kylie Rogers, who I mean I've never seen anything else she's in, but she's incredible in this, and she is fucking insane. She's just always taking like these fistfuls of drugs and shit, and like Nathan Lane is always like he's like, oh, you make sure you have her dessert, honey, and she just takes like a bunch of pills. You know, there's a scene where like she comes in and the dad's like, "Oh, are you off to school?" And she's like, "Fuck no," and just like takes a bunch of pills and storms out. But yeah, she's pissed off at Bo for staying in her room. And then one day, Bo gets a phone call from this guy, and he's like, "Hey, are you coming to your mom's fucking funeral, dude? It was, you know, we keep having to postpone it. We've postponed it for like 3 days now." And he keeps trying to tell him what's going on, but he's just like shouting at him, and he's like, you know, "You're a piece of shit. You missed your mom's funeral. Everyone hates you." And meanwhile, the whole time this like pretty serious phone call is going on, the fucking crazy friend is in the background, just like swinging his arms around and shit, like Leatherface at the end of Texas Chainsaw Massacre. He's just I don't. He's just doing a little dance in the back of the in the background of the shot while Bo's getting chastised for not coming to his mother's funeral. But so and then you see Nathan Lane and Amy Ryan go like tackle him and then give him tranquilizers to fucking calm him down. And then Bo's like, "Well, I need to go. I need to go to my mom's funeral. They're all waiting for me." And the dad is like, he's like, "Oh, I'll take you tomorrow." And then he's like, "Oh, never mind, I can't." And he does that like a few times in a row. And he's like, "Well, actually, you're too injured, so I just can't take you at all, man. We're gonna have to wait a little bit." And at one point, they're all eating dinner, and Nathan Lane, like right as Bo is about to take his first bite of dinner, he's like, "Oh, by the way, dude, your testicles are so fucking enlarged right now. I don't know if you can go anywhere in your current state." And then they go to leave, and Amy Ryan, when they're on the way out the door, gives Bo this little note that says, "Stop incriminating yourself." And I think this is when he like watches the TV, and he finds that one of the channels on the TV is just a hidden camera in the house, and he watches like everything that he's done since he got there. But then he fast forwards, and it actually just takes you to the end of the movie. So he quits watching the TV, and he's like, "All right, I'm not fucking with that." And then he goes into Kylie Rogers' room and looks up on her laptop to make sure that his mother is actually dead. And he sees a news story that's like, you know, Mona Wasserman found with a chandelier where her head used to be. And he's like, fuck, I guess she's really dead. But then he sees also on the news clip is a woman named Elaine that he knows from childhood, who's played by Parker Posey, and she's apparently an employee of his mother's. And then that causes him to just throw up on the laptop. And this is when Kylie Rogers comes back in, and she's like, "All right, Bo, I'm going to take you home." And so he gets in this car with her and her friend, and they're just they're just being so fucking they're just being like mean teenage girls, and they're talking about like getting their teachers fired by like sleeping with them and shit. They end up making him smoke PCP, and then they record him while he's doing it, and they just make fun of him. And while he's hallucinating, he has this flashback to when he was a kid, and he's on a cruise with his mom, and he meets this little girl named Elaine, who he befriends, and then she kisses him, and then while her mom is trying to force her to leave the boat, she comes into Bo's room at night while he's asleep, and she tells him that she loves him and that she wants him to wait for her and that they'll meet again. And then she comes back toward the end of the film, and what's probably the best scene in this whole entire thing, but that's not for like another 2 acts. And then they take him back to the house, and she takes him to her brother's room and starts trying to paint it. And she's like, all right, well, if you're not gonna fucking help me paint this room, then you're gonna get fucked up with me. And she just starts drinking this can of paint. And he's like, Tony, stop, Tony. And she's like, don't call me that. And he's like, I thought that was your name. And she's like, it is my name. It's my name. And she just drinks the whole can of paint and dies. And then Amy Ryan comes back in and she's like, what did you do? You fucking killed her. And she chases him out of the house, and he just like crashes through the window, runs out of the house, and then like runs into the woods. And Amy Ryan sends Jeeves, the crazy friend who's been freaking out the whole time, to go get him. And so he chases him back, or he chases him out into the woods. And then that's the end of the second act. And I feel like I should say it was at this point of the movie where I was like, this is one of the greatest things I've ever seen in my entire fucking life. One of the funniest fucking movies. But the rest of the film is a bit of, I mean, I think it's still great, but it's a bit of a slog from here. And then this is typically where the people who are being critical of this movie are like, okay, this is kind of where it stops being good. But I'm not gonna lie, I actually just still love the rest of the movie. The two more acts, the one in the forest and then the one at Beau's mom's house. Even though the act in the forest honestly probably just could have straight up not been in the movie, but it is what it is. And so Beau hits his head and gets knocked out while he's running through the forest, and he wakes up to find this pregnant woman who's out, and it looks like she's just, I don't know, picking berries, or just she's out foraging or something. And so she takes him back to her little village and tells him that she's in a traveling theater company. And then there are all these like weird theater kids that come up and talk to him. Like there's a guy in a ladybug suit that just comes up and kisses him on the lips instantly when he gets there. And they show him this play, which I don't really remember because I think I just stopped paying attention to it. But the important thing that happens is it morphs into this play about Beau. Like he gets is kind of taken from the crowd into the play itself. And there's like a fucking 20-minute long sequence of this woman just narrating the rest of Beau's life. And it's still goofy, but very matter of fact. Like there's a part where she's like, "You get a wife, Beau, and then you have kids with her because you guys fuck," and it's just like that the whole rest. And he like, oh, and the movie changes also from live action to it has this kind of animated background, which looks really nice actually, but it's like it's like you've been sucked into this alternate dimension or something, which by that point in the movie I had been laughing for like 2 hours straight, and I was just kind of tired and out of energy, and then this almost made me feel like I was just tripping for half an hour. So Beau lives out the rest of his life and learns that he has several children, and they're actually there in the forest, in the crowd of the play when we leave the like animated fantasy world and turn back to the, I guess, more realistic looking fantasy world that the rest of the movie takes place in. And they tell Beau that he's their father, which confuses him because earlier in the movie we saw this flashback that he had where his mother was telling him that his father died the night that he was conceived because he had a condition where he actually died if he ever had sex. And so Beau thought that he had that too and therefore never had sex. And so he was like, well, you guys can't be my fucking kids then. And then another man pops up out of the crowd and he tells Beau that he knows his father. And then it's right at this moment that Jeeves shows back up and just starts shooting up the fucking crowd of the theater. And the guy in the ladybug costume just has a gun for some reason that I guess he just keeps on him. And so he starts shooting at Jeeves. and then they fight, and Jeeves is actually just shooting his gun, and he falls down, so it's like pointed back at him, but he's so fucking insane. He just keeps shooting himself like while he's on the ground, and so Bo, gets the fuck out of there and runs off, and then Jeeves makes his ankle monitor go off, which then incapacitates Bo, and then he just falls down. While he's unconscious, he flashes back to this scene of where he's a child and he's in the bathtub, and then he sees at first Elaine, which is his love interest, but then he looks away and then looks back, and it's actually his mother, which is about what you need to know about this movie. And she's trying to get who's apparently Bo's brother to get into the bathtub, and he won't go. And so she's just like, well, fine, if you want to be like this, I'm going to put you up in the attic. And she just takes him over to the attic and locks him up in there. And then that's when Bo wakes up and just goes to the highway and hitchhikes his way over to his mother's funeral. And when he gets there, we find that she just has like this corporate town that's named after her because she owns like a giant pharmaceutical company that's also like a realty company and a beauty products company, and she's like a billionaire. And so she just has like this own personal like medieval village essentially where all her employees live. And then Bo gets there, and the first thing he sees is there's this giant statue in her front yard that's the same as the like little tiny figure that Bo bought earlier in the movie, where it's like the mother holding the son. And he just wanders into her house, and the funeral is still happening, but there's no one there anymore because he's late. And he sees she had an open casket, so you can just see her decapitated body there. And he wanders around for a little bit in this like huge, beautiful mansion, and he sees this like wall of photos, and they all reveal like what kind of business she owned, and just what kind of person she was. And that whole wall is so perfect. And there's one at the end where it's like, I don't know if it's like, if you call it like a collage or what, but it's like that picture where it's the kind of picture where it's like a bunch of smaller pictures, and then they all make one big one, and it's all of the smaller pictures are like the employees at her company, and then it's just her portrait is like the big picture. Just everything in that house is so, really every fucking frame of this movie is hilarious, but the house especially. And so then he goes and takes a little nap, and then he gets up and decides he's going to leave. And on his way out, he sees the adult Elaine, the girl that he met on the cruise when he was a kid. Then the adult version of her is played by Parker Posey, and he just like talks to her a little bit and catches up. And this whole sequence is so perfect. And he like tells her what's been going on, and then he just kisses her, and she's instantly like, all right, come with me. And she like takes him up to the bedroom of the house, so his mother's bedroom, and she goes and lays down in the bed. She starts getting changed, and she's like, go to the bathroom and get changed. And then he like goes in and he comes back out with all his clothes still on, and she's like, she has to tell him to go back in and take his clothes off. And so he goes in and does it, and then he runs back out, and he's like holding his stab wound from the beginning of the movie that still hasn't healed. And he's like, the whole time he's like freaking out, and he's like, hi, and he just like kind of waddles into the bed, like scampers over there. So she, gets on top of him, and they start having sex, and she plays on her phone. She plays "Always Be My Baby" by Mariah Carey, which if anyone has heard me playing that song in real life for the last year, this is the scene where it comes from. And so you just watch them have sex for like maybe 60 seconds or so, and you can see Joaquin Phoenix's like ridiculously enlarged testicles the whole time. But he's scared because he thinks that he can't. Right, he thinks he can't have sex because he's gonna die at the end. But then he comes, and then he's like, his eyes are all clenched, and he's like panicking, and uh, and he's screaming the whole time, and he's like, "Please stop! Please, they're gonna kill me." But then she actually dies, and then he freaks out and like throws her off of him. And then this is when his mom just comes in and catches him, and she tells him that she faked her own death and like had one of her employees die to be like a body double. And from here, the rest of the movie is almost just like a parody of Hereditary, right? Like his mom just accosts him and yells at him for like half an hour, and she reveals that Bo's therapist, who he's talked to a few times earlier in the movie, was actually like her employee and had been spying on him. Uh, oh, and the way he's revealed is we like hear him like just taking a fat shit and then like flushing the toilet, and then he pops out. He's like, "Surprise, bitch." I guess thanks Ari Aster. And then we're still doing Hereditary, right? The mom takes him up to the attic, or she kind of tricks him into going up there and tries to lock him in there. And he finds his brother in there, who's a grown man now too. I guess he's just been there the whole time. And he also finds his dad, who is just like this penis monster. And then Jeeves breaks in and tries to kill it. And then Bo's dad kills Jeeves, and he runs back downstairs. I promise I'm almost done. This is this is such a stupid fucking movie. He runs back downstairs and apologizes to his mom, but then she gets mad at him again, and so he like snaps and starts strangling her. And then he thinks he's killed her, and he realizes what he's done. So then he runs away, and he gets on a boat and tries to escape, but he ends up trapped in like this giant stadium where he goes on trial, and uh, his mom, who's still alive, is there, and her lawyer just tells the crowd all of these things that Bo has done to her, like since he was a child, and they're all funny too. Like one of them was like, he let like his friends into her house while she was gone, and they like went through her underwear. And it's just all shit like that. And then the movie ends. Oh, they also parody Midsummer here because they throw Bo's lawyer off of a cliff, and he just smacks on the ground and dies. And then yeah, the movie ends by Bo's boat just capsizing, and then we stare at the capsized boat as Bo is, and we watch him like struggle to breathe until he eventually dies, and then his mom is screaming because she's upset that her son died, and then she gets escorted out, and then as the credits roll, we just watch the stadium empty out, and everyone just kind of goes home and goes about their lives. And I've got to say, by this point in the movie, I was kind of just ready to go to bed. The first like two acts, which are roughly like half the runtime, the first 90 minutes of the movie are so hilarious and so great, and then the second half is so, it's just I don't know, it just makes me feel kind of dead inside, which I think was part of the point of the movie. But like fuck, dude. I mean, someone just needs to stop this man. But yeah, great, over 5 out of 5, no issues with it. Amazing film, love it. Love how personal of a movie it was. The Ari Aster's definitely the only person that possibly could make a fucking movie like this. Joaquin Phoenix is incredible. He by the end of the movie, like the only thing he can do is whimper. It's the entire time he's just a nervous wreck. It's just pretty spectacular to watch. The music is great. It's the same. It's the same guy that did the music for Midsummer. So even though it's like kind of funny, it still just sounds creepy. It still has like a lot of the horror trappings in it. Yeah, the casting was outstanding. Just a real fucking movies movie. And yeah, with like 45 minutes left to go, I was definitely like, I can't believe I'm still fucking watching this dumbass movie. But you know what? Sigmund Freud was right. Ari Aster's always right. And you should quit acting like you've never had a mother before.
I'll leave. I'll do whatever you want, but what does that mean? What do you mean about
I'm not asking you to leave. I'm asking you to fucking drink this fucking pain with me.
Tony, please.
Don't call me Tony.
I'm sorry if that was your
It
name.
is my name. It's my name.
So I think I can put a nice bow on this by just reading a negative review that I found in Apollo by Mr. Dex Hinton, titled "Beau is Afraid. Am I dumb or is this movie just bad?" It reads, "I'll be blunt. I hated Beau is Afraid. I absolutely despised it. It is my least favorite film I've seen so far this year, and it will be difficult for any other movie to knock it out of the spot. Beau is Afraid enraged me throughout its entire 3-hour runtime, not because the content is particularly offensive or because I can't handle big S, big C, quote, surrealist cinema or whatever. The movie made me angry because somewhere around the 45-minute mark, I realized I had so badly miscalculated the cost-benefit analysis of my life that it had led me to watching this utterly dreadful film in an otherwise empty theater on a Wednesday night instead of doing something else more useful or fun." Jesus Christ. Like, more useful or fun, like attempting to overthrow a government or kissing a girl or something. But no. Instead, I was watching Joaquin Phoenix be sad about his mom and make dick jokes for 3 hours so I could write a review. Which, ironically enough, is what I liked about the movie. What is Beau is Afraid? For those of you unfamiliar, Beau is Afraid is the new surrealist black tragicomedy horror film from Hereditary and Midsummer director Ari Aster, starring Joaquin Phoenix. The synopsis reads, quote, "Following the sudden death of his mother, a mild-mannered but anxiety-ridden man confronts his darkest fears as he embarks on an epic, Kafka-esque odyssey back home. It's impossible to tell you any more about the, quote, plot of the movie without spoiling it. If you do find yourself watching Beau is Afraid, you need to do so knowing as little as possible about the plot so that you too can," and it says suffer through this monstrosity, but it's crossed out, "properly appreciate the film." Why I hated it. I'm a simple man. When I watch a movie, I like to be told a story, and for what may seem like disparate elements of that story at the beginning to later combine themselves into an enlightening, motivating, thought-provoking, or otherwise interesting statement on the human condition. That statement can be something happy and positive, like good can triumph over evil if we don't give up, or it can be something negative, like absolute power corrupts absolutely. Which are just both baby movies. It doesn't really matter. It's not even necessary that I agree with the statement, but that's what I'm here for, a story and a statement. What Beau is Afraid has instead is just a bunch of weird shit happening just for the sake of weird shit happening. Every time you think you may be finally starting to pull the pieces together, to finally connect the story you currently see to other things you've seen previously, to fashion something sort of resembling rhyme or reason in all of this on-screen chaos, to create a statement that justifies why this movie exists, you're interrupted by a loud noise and then some other even weirder shit happens to remind you that none of this matters. Holy fuck, dude. And then you look at your watch and realize there are 2 fucking hours left in Beau is Afraid's utterly absurd runtime. I'm not a person who hates 3-hour movies on principle. I gushed about Tar in my review of that movie, which, there you go, that's a grown-up movie, and ranked it as my best of 2022. So trust me when I say I can handle a long, deliberately paced movie. Adderall is the wind beneath my wings. But holy shit, man, Beau is Afraid felt like it took years off my life. But maybe Beau is Afraid is just too smart for me. Look, I love movies, and I love writing movie reviews, but at the end of the day, I'm just some guy. I didn't go to film school or anything. I like a lot of objectively bad rom-coms starring Jennifer Lopez. It's very possible that, to borrow a phrase from J. Cole stands, you have to have a certain intellectual level to enjoy Beau is Afraid, and I'm just a big dumb idiot. Which, man, I wish this were being written in the context of what's happening with J. Cole now. But oh well. So I've decided to give Beau is Afraid a fair shake and see if there are smarter movie people than me out there who can explain it to me. Alyssa Wilkinson, in her Beau is Afraid Explained article for Vox, said, "It's important to remember that Beau is Afraid, which is out now, is not a puzzle to be solved or a mystery to be unlocked. That's by design. Sink into it and don't try to pick it apart, and you'll get it. Got stuck on the details, and you'll lose the plot, so to speak. End quote. Nice. So just watch it and vibe. I can do that. Richard Lawson, my favorite critic, wrote in his review for Vanity Fair, "Read one way, this is a remarkably frank and revelatory film, Astor making manifest his dreadfully active psyche so that we may better understand him, and I guess ourselves. There's satire embedded within, and grand hyperbole about Jewish boys and their moms, about the embarrassments of moving through the world as a nebbish frightened by their shadow and everyone else's." Okay, cool. So there's a statement about Ari Aster's mommy issues in Beau is Afraid. I can respect that. It's good for artists to use their art to work through internal issues and traumas. Gotcha. And then I'm just going to skip to the end because Dex just decides to go ahead and not take his favorite reviewers to heart. And at the end he says, "So one could say that Beau is Afraid did its job as a surrealist expression of Ari Aster's unconsciousness, and that it is an exciting and humorous exploration of his still unresolved mommy issues. You could say that the frustration Beau is Afraid causes by not making any sense and taking too long to make its point, or not make a point at all, is the intended effect, and that Ari Aster is a genius who may fly over the heads of common moviegoers who are too dumb to understand these things, while they wait on the next helping of cynically produced slop from the MCU. Or one could just be like me and say, screw all that hippie art school bullshit. Beau is Afraid just sucks. Grade F. Recommendation, go do literally anything else with your time. Anything." And I just think that's just the perfect close to this episode, because I think this review basically captures everything I like about the movie. I like it for all the reasons that this guy didn't like it. And like him, I basically think that instead of listening to this podcast, you could go do literally anything else with your time, and that is what I would recommend you do. No, but if you are still listening to this, I'm very proud of you. You're a good little listener, and I love you. And yeah, I guess that's it for the first episode. Hopefully I can make these regularly. I don't know, I probably will. But yeah, stay safe, and hope to catch you next time.